For a 1983 arcade game, I'm sure you'll agree that Tapper looks rather nice. There is a lot of detail in the characters for a game of its age. It's also a very playable game. Developed by Marvin Glass and Associates, yeah, I've never heard of them either, but I have owned some of their toys, such as Mousetrap, Operation, and the Evel Knievel Stunt Cycle. And published by Bally Midway. This game was originally only released into bars due to its promotion of Budweiser beer. Well, that was until it was rebranded into Root Beer Tapper in 1984. The aim of the game is very simple. Make sure your customers get enough booze and leave the bar. Once everyone is gone, it's on to the next stage. Sounds simple, but things can soon get tricky. Customers will start sliding glasses back to you. You must catch these before they fall off the end of the bar. They'll also edge their way up to the bar towards the beer tap, and you don't want thirsty customers at the beer taps. Oh no. Then they sometimes leave the payment on the bar, which you can pick up for some lovely bonus points. But you better hope that the can-can dancers don't come on. Your customers may get distracted as you slide over the beer, resulting in it smashing to the ground and losing a life. Tapper is a fantastic game from the past that can become really addictive really fast. We'll start off the ports with the granddaddy of popular consoles, the Atari 2600, and blow me down, what a very pretty port this is. Most Atari 2600 games require you to use a lot of imagination, however, this looks like Tapper. What's better is that it also plays like Tapper. I'm honestly impressed by just how well this port is. It also includes the bonus stages. You will notice it says Mountain Dew in the background now, but that was common on most ports, besides a select few which say Pepsi. Tapper also made its way onto the Atari 8-bit line of home computers. While the graphics are more detailed than the 2600, it doesn't look as appealing in my opinion. The game just looks drab due to the color choices. Still, it does play well, if not a little slow when things get busy. In good old Colecovision style, we get a nice colourful game here, but so far it may be the worst port. It plays rather sluggish and can be quite difficult to see how many customers are at each bar with a glance, due to the amount of sprite flicker present. Tapper on the Colecovision isn't a terrible game by any means, but it is a bit disappointing. Another port of Tapper that just doesn't feel right. The issue I have with this Commodore 64 port is the filling of the glasses. It just doesn't feel as snappy as the other ports, so far. This is kind of frustrating coming from the other ports. However, if you've only ever played this port, you may not know any better and think this is how the game should be. Playing the game in NTSC mode doesn't seem to make any difference either. Poor ZX Spectrum owners had to suffer again. Tapper on this system plays fine, but it's got some serious issues. First off is the awful audio. This is one game you're going to want to play with the sound turned off. Second, it can be extremely confusing to see just how many customers are at the bar. They're all monochrome outline sprites, which means when they are on top of one another, it's impossible to know just how many there are. Are there 2? 3? Or just one really messed up sprite? We just can't tell. This MSX port is unofficial, but I've added it here just out of interest, as it's something I've known about for a few years. This is actually a port of the Colecovision game. The port was handled by GDX and features some nice improvements, such as improved support for keyboard and joysticks. Also, is it just me, or does the sprite flicker seem to be less severe over the original Colecovision version? Another stinker of a port, but this time on the Amstrad CPC. Whoever developed this port hadn't paid attention to how the arcade game played. In the normal game, you hit the button to fill up the glass and that's it. In this port, you hit a button to fill up the glass, but can't throw it until you hit the button again to stop filling it up. This really does damage the smooth gameplay that the original offered. I'm pleasantly surprised with this BBC Micro port. Despite a few odd colour choices, this is a very nice port of Tapper. The controls are keyboard only, but they feel responsive and you are able to remap the controls to any key you like. If only we had a copy of this on the BBC Micros we used back in school. Well, what can I say? Yet another great port of Tapper, this time on the IBM PC. We've got the looks, the playability, and the sound, somewhat. The CGA graphics may not be the best in terms of colour, but they sure do a good job at pulling off some detailed sprites. I'm liking the little extras put into this Apple II port, such as the inclusion of most of the arcade's animation, as well as the reflection of the Mountain Dew logo in the mirror. As for how the game plays, well, it's a little slower in pace than the arcade game, but overall, it's quite intact. I also like how the Mountain Dew actually looks like beer in the glass. It's as if the developers thought, nah, we know what the public wants. And let's take a look at all those versions of Tapper running side by side.